Welcome everyone. That beat you hear is from my cousin Matt Martinez, Reality 508, cheap plug. And as I'm recording this, it is November 4th, 2024. Welcome to Jason Talks About. And today, Jason talks about the election, race, and double standards. Now, I had promised people that I would get something out before the election, so that's what I'm doing. I am literally recording this the day before the presidential election of the United States. Donald Trump versus Kamala Harris. And I will say this, I talked a little bit about politics in my mission statement. We're going to talk some politics today. That's not all the show's going to be about. If you listen to my mission statement, even if you didn't, we're going to have a lot of fun. It's not always going to be politics and stuff. And I am going to do some wrestling. I actually have the Monday Night Raw thread up on the Facebook page. I would love to hear what people think about Monday Night Raw. That's happening as I speak. I'll be watching it on a delay, and then I will be doing a show about my thoughts on Monday Night Raw. But anyway, back to the topic. The election, race, and double standards. Why do I say that? Well, obviously, we're here to talk about the election, right? It's a big one. I think they've all been advertised as the biggest one of my life, especially since, the Obama years. And it's just amazing that when I self-reflect that, people that we thought were like, oh my God, the boogeyman, right? Like Mitt Romney, okay? Mitt Romney's a guy I disagree with on topics and on policies. He's not Donald Trump. This is a whole new ball game. It's since he's come into our politics, he's just said the quiet stuff out loud. The dog whistles have become a megaphone. And I just want to be clear here on the show for people that don't know me. I'm going to speak my mind here, and we're going to deal in facts, okay? We're going to deal in facts. This isn't going to be one of those shows where we pretend that the things he's saying are not racist, or that he's not associating with hate groups, or we're not going to do that. Maybe the mainstream media, the supposed quote-unquote liberal media, that I keep hearing so much about, they tap dance around all that stuff. They won't flat out call out things like him mocking disabled people and all this other stuff. I'm going to say it. Like I said, this is a show where we deal in facts. On this show, if something's on video, if something's proven, I'm not gonna pretend it doesn't exist, okay? All right? Sometimes the emperor really doesn't have clothes on. Google it, kids. Okay, so let's get to race, okay? Now, I know a lot of people say, oh, we're so exhausted talking about race. Why does everything have to be about race? Well, you know what? Donald Trump's the one who likes to bring race into things. So let's talk a little bit about that, okay? Now, obviously, if you haven't been able to tell yet, I'm a Kamala Harris supporter, okay? I am. I feel like now as Democrats, we always have to quantify everything by saying, is she perfect? No, blah, blah, blah. Well, of course not. There's not a perfect person that exists. I think Donald Trump thinks he is, but there's not a perfect person that exists. I would say Barack Obama was probably the politician of my lifetime as far as person who I like the most. Bernie Sanders, big Bernie guy. I don't agree with them 100%. If we listed every position they have, I'm sure I disagree with some of them. Whatever. That's the way it goes. Part of being a grown-up is there's two choices. You look at who reflects your values the best. Maybe I agree with this person 80%. Maybe I agree with this one 20. Okay? I'm going to go with the 80. And that's the way it goes. Okay? I think Kamala Harris is a fine candidate. It's not just about she's not Donald Trump. I mean, obviously that helps. But, and this idea that she's not qualified, that she's some kind of quote-unquote DEI hire, didn't earn it. That's really rich coming from hedge fund babies and, guys that were born on third base and convinced they hit a triple, saying things like DEI. What the hell, what have these guys earned? You're going to see a lot of Fox News. So, going to see people like Tucker Carlson, who's spewing, racist shit, who inherited, the Swanson fortune, talking about DEI, and you know, he's just one of many examples of entitled, privileged, spoiled, you know, little rich brats that grew up with everything handed to them, and then they're going to talk about DEI. Give me a break. Didn't earn it? Yeah, you guys should know about that. Okay, so she's a good candidate. She's highly qualified. This idea that, when, you know, talking about the double standards, that she's somehow not qualified or she's not good enough. She was a state senator for the largest state in the country. She was a federal prosecutor. You know, she's got a resume. She's the vice president of the United States, for God's sake, okay? She's got a resume a mile long. I'm not going to bore everybody going into it. By now, people know who Kamala Harris is by now, okay? She's been running for president for months. Donald Trump, unfortunately, has dominated our life for like 10 years, and we know who he is. A lot of people deny who he is. Like I said, I'm not doing that, not on the show, okay? So let's get into it. Like I said, race, we're going to start off with that. Donald Trump has to bring... It's almost like when Kamala Harris entered the race, he couldn't help himself. It was just like a racist explosion. One of the first things he does is start talking about she became black. She wasn't black enough. Donald Trump, I guess, determines when or how black Kamala Harris is, or when he decides how black she became and when that was. You know, that's pretty rich. Coming from somebody who's, I guess, orange when he's supposed to be white or whatever. He just had some comments at Madison Square Garden this past weekend about his beautiful white skin. I don't think that was a mistake. So he, you know, he introduced race, and he loves to bring up race. Let's go back to the beginning, okay? Because, like I said, on this show, we're not going to pretend that Donald Trump is not a racist, because he is. We go back to the Central Park Five, okay? We go back to Barack Obama's birth certificate, right? I've actually had people come to my Facebook page and say things to me like, oh, come on, Jay, but that's not racist. Really? If he was a white guy named Barry Smith, would we be asking for his birth certificate? Would we be doubting that he's actually a Christian? Would we be saying he's secretly a Muslim? Which, by the way, who gives a shit what religion the President of the United States is? Religion has nothing to do with it. Church and state, people, do your homework. I know people like to believe this is a Christian nation. It's not. It's a nation where you're free to be a Christian. Let's get that thing clear. You know, a lot of Christians and Catholics, when they say quote unquote freedom of religion, they mean freedom of their religion. You know, because I'm sure if they wanted to teach the Quran or, you know, give a moment to pray to Allah in class, there'd be a lot of upset people. The same people that are screaming about religious freedom wouldn't like that. So anyway, yeah. So back to Trump and race, okay? So he's, you know, he brought up, you know, we got on the subject of religion because of Barack Obama. We questioned his religion. We questioned whether or not he's actually a legal resident of the United States, even though he's president of the United States, which is like just ridiculous, okay? That was Trump. Trump started the birtherism, okay? People forget that. He was at least the most high-profile name that brought it up right away, okay? Now, Trump shouted out the Proud Boys in the debate. I mean, that's on video. Is someone going to say that didn't happen? Does anybody remember? Proud Boys, stand back but stand by. Okay, does everybody remember that? Okay, the Proud Boys are a hate group, okay? There's a lot of these groups that have cute little nicknames. Proud Boys, Three Percenters, Oath Keepers, okay? They're all hate groups. Nazis, skinheads, white supremacists, whatever you want to call them. You know, they shield what they really are with these little nicknames and whatever, what have you, and code names. Because they don't want to say what they are. White nationalists, white supremacists, Nazi, pick it, okay? That's what they are. So we had the President of the United States shouting out, telling a hate group to stand back and stand by, okay, during an actual national debate, okay? You know, his comments about Mexicans, the Muslim ban, banning an entire religion, you know, but doesn't ban the country where the actual 9/11 terrorists, you know, were operating out of. You know, that's rich. Talking about Haitians eating dogs and cats. Yeah, I'm sure that would be brought up if they were, you know, immigrants from, you know, Norway or Canada or something, right? So, you know, this idea of the other, right? Those, you know, hey, those Haitians, watch out for them. You know, they're eating animals, they're savages. You know, that's, you know, and it's funny because I actually had somebody argue me on Facebook telling me, that it was true. That it was true. The Haitians were eating dogs and cats. No, it wasn't. The Republican officials in that state, the mayor, the city manager, the police chief, the Republican governor, all said, not true, didn't happen, they're not doing that. They're actually good people, viable members of this community. By the way, legal migrants, legal, okay? So when him and J.D. Vance, yeah, that guy's a lot of fun, huh, J.D. Vance? When Trump and Vance are talking about deporting the migrants in Ohio, let's be clear, they're talking about deporting legal people that are legally in the United States, okay? So it's just crazy to me. Again, this isn't the mainstream media here. I'm going to state facts, okay? During the January 6th hearings, what we found out is that these Proud Boys, Oath Keepers, three percenters, whatever the hell they want to call themselves, were actually in the White House. We're actually in our White House, okay? Hate groups, okay? White nationalists, white supremacists were lurking around our White House, providing security for Rudy Giuliani and other Trump nuts, other officials, okay? This is like freaking Hydra in real life, okay? like like infiltrating our White House, okay? So this is the Donald Trump legacy when it comes to race, okay? So I'm not going to pretend here that he's not a racist. And I just want to say something, because I actually know good people that follow Trump. Now, I want to believe that they're misinformed or just don't get everything, or maybe they don't trust the media and think they're exaggerating things he says. I'll buy that to a degree, but we've known Donald Trump for like a decade now really well, okay? And so for Trump, if he's not a racist, which, I think he is, but if he's not, then he at least is okay with racism and using racism to get power, all right? Now, I'm not even going to give him that much credit. I do think he's a racist. So what I would say about most Trump supporters is that, people will say, well, hey, Jay, all Trump supporters can't be racist. You can't say that about everybody. I'm not saying that. What I am saying, though, is that if you're a Trump supporter who's paid attention to his comments, at least somewhat, for the last 10 years, then racism is not a deal breaker for you. Okay? And that's a problem. I'll say that again. Racism is not a deal breaker for you. It's a deal breaker for me. All right. I have a blended family. Okay. I'm part Hispanic. I have extended family that's black, and I'm not going to sit here and, like I said, and pretend that racism isn't happening when it's happening right in front of me. Okay. So, yeah, he's definitely a problem when it comes to race and race relations, and I'm not going to pretend he's not. So, I also think he's just a horrible human being. I mean, he mocked a disabled reporter, which, again, people told me wasn't true. Again, it's on video. There's this thing called video that we have. It's not magic. You can go back and see what he did. You can look at the reporter. You can see how he imitated his arm. The reporter has a very spastic arm, because of his condition. Donald Trump decided to imitate him and mock him. I've worked with the disabled community a lot of my life, and it just makes me sad. There are people in my industry that support him. I don't get it, especially working with the people. Like, I can't just, if there was a person in normal everyday life that did that motion that he did, and we all know what that motion means. Okay, it means the R word. Let's not pretend like people don't know what that is when you make that motion with your arm and you do that impression. Me, I'm not going to pretend he didn't mean that. I'm not going to tap dance around it. I'm not going to do all the mental gymnastics. He meant it. He did it. It's on video. It's true. It happened. Okay? So don't tell me it didn't happen. All right? So things like that are just, there's a long list of why I'm not going to vote for Donald Trump. And I just wanted to talk about race because they just can't help themselves when it comes to Kamala Harris. We had Tucker Carlson again, that barrel of fun, talking about how, she's half Malaysian and half Samoan or something. Just saying just stupid stuff at that hate rally they just had this past weekend at Madison Square Garden. Just freaking almost like a KKK rally, for God's sake. The whole entire thing was just about immigrants and and race, and the entire thing was just a hate-filled ridiculousness. And by the way, as I'm recording this, our Republican candidate for the President of the United States is explaining the fact that he was not simulating oral sex to a microphone. That's a real thing that's happening right now that he had to tweet out today, because he absolutely was on tape doing that at his one of his latest rallies. So yeah, good work, America. Now let's get to the double standard, because everything I just said about Donald Trump, right? Kamala Harris, again, we always have to quantify, okay, yeah, she's not perfect. Of course she's not perfect. But she at least acts like a normal human being, and she's giving ideas, and she's talking about policy, and she's trying to run on something, okay? And I think Van Jones said it best on CNN. He gets to be lawless, she has to be flawless. What a great line by Van Jones. Who, by the way, got fired because he said Republicans were assholes. I mean, think about that. In the Donald Trump era, he got fired. Democrats fired him for saying that. But anyway, I'm a big Van Jones fan. Most of the time, I agree with him. Great line, and it's right. It's true. So you'll hear the quote-unquote liberal media, okay, the mainstream media, say things like, Kamala Harris has to define herself a little more. She didn't really hit all the points of that policy position she holds. And, she had a different position 6 or 7 years ago, right? On the other hand, I've literally heard pundits say, if Donald Trump can go out there tonight on that debate stage and just not be racist and just say a few less sexist things, he'll look presidential and maybe he can bring this home. I mean, those are the metrics we're measuring the two candidates by. Okay, that is ridiculous. It's like one is measured by like a third grader in debate class, and the other one is measured by how you should be measuring the President of the United States. Okay, so that's the double standard. Okay, so when I brought up double standard, that's the double standard. So Kamala Harris is running this race like she started it 30 yards behind. Not only did she come in late, which I'm not blaming Donald Trump for that. I mean, that was just the way things worked out. But then, like I said, the media that is supposedly so liberal, this is how they're treating the two candidates. It's like one with kid gloves, like, oh, if he can just be a little less racist, he'll look really powerful and presidential on that stage. And with her, it's like, I didn't you only made 17 out of 20 points on that policy. So, I'm not sure about you. This is what the media is doing, So this idea that she's some kind of media darling and the media is all tilted towards her is just crap. Because this guy has been able to run like a toddler for 10 years, and he fell backwards into the presidency in 2016, and he's just been failing upwards ever since. That's basically the story of his life anyway. The other thing when we talk about double standard is that just a lot of the country doesn't know anything, okay? When they ask the question about the economy, they say they trust Republicans. Well, here's the thing. Since 1989, there's been 50 million jobs created in the United States, okay? 1 million under Republicans, 50 million under Democrats. 50 million to 1 million, okay? By every single metric, Democrats are better on the economy. Every metric. Look it up. Fact check it, okay? GDP, stock market, job growth, unemployment, every metric, the deficit, okay? It's like Republicans hand the keys over to Democrats with the House in flames, and Democrats have to fix things. That's how it's gone since Reagan, okay? So by every metric, even inflation, everybody screams about inflation. Look, I'm not going to pretend things aren't tough for people. Of course, they are for a lot of people. But inflation is at 2% as I record this. We have recovered better than every other major nation on this planet, okay? Because, again, the guy that was in the White House before Biden, Trump, spent the first few months of the pandemic pretending it's a hoax and totally bungling the whole thing. This question about, are you better 4 years now than you were before? Yeah, hey woman, you have less rights right now over your own body than you did 4 years ago, okay? 4 years ago, we were putting people, we were using freezer trucks as morgues, okay? Because of a pandemic that was so poorly mishandled by some fool who acts like the mayor in Jaws, that was trying to pretend like nothing was wrong, instead of just being an adult and handling things, like so many other countries that got over it quicker than us. Okay, so when we talk about the double standard, that's what I'm talking about. The facts support that Democrats are so much better on these issues and on the economy, but yet if you ask the average schmo, they're going to say, the Republicans, they're better on the economy, and maybe that's a Democrat messaging issue. I don't know, but I just think it's like a lot of people just don't know stuff, and they just spew things out of their face with no facts, with no statistics, with no nothing. It's just, they just want to feel that way, so they just say stuff. And the internet has made it really bad because people just conclusion shop, and their algorithms will just placate them, okay? So with Donald Trump, we know there was 4 years of chaos, okay, when he was president. I just went into a little bit of how he handled COVID. I don't know how many criminal investigations, 2 impeachments. Republicans are supposed to be really big on being American and being proud and loving the veterans, except when Donald Trump is saying he's not a fan of John McCain because he was caught. He's not a hero because he was caught. They're really big on back in the blue, except for when Trump supporters were beating cops almost to death on January 6th and raiding the Capitol. That was okay. It was all right then. Just the hypocrisy. It's just crazy. And by the way, when you talk about the economy, which I just did a little bit, and you talk about how people will say to me, well, Jay, you can say all those stats and you can say everything's going good, but I'm still feeling the squeeze. The little guy is still feeling kind of the squeeze. That is true. And part of that is because of people don't understand this, but we are under Trump's tax plan still. Okay? We're under his tax plan until 2025. And when they poll people about taxes and they say they're unhappy, it's, again, people don't know anything. We're under Trump's tax policies. They're in effect until 2025. Trump, for a good portion of his presidency was under the Obama tax plan and the Obama economy that he got to just coast in on and ride the coattails of until he bungled COVID and drove us into the freaking ground. All right? So we know what 4 years of Donald Trump looks like. All right? I'm not going to go back to that. And again, I'm not going to pretend that these things didn't happen, and I'm not going to contort myself into positions that aren't real. So I guess basically what I'm trying to drive home here in this brief message, because we don't have a lot of time. Tomorrow's the election. If you're within the sound of my voice and you're undecided, I think the choice is clear. Okay? We have somebody, if you Google Project 2025 or Project 47, whatever cute thing they're trying to nickname it this time, it's scary. It's really, really scary stuff. It's dictator stuff. This guy loves dictators. You want to talk about double standards? He wrote beautiful love letters with Kim Jong-un and fell in love. He loves Putin. He thinks Putin's a genius for invading the Ukraine. I mean, give me a break. I mean, if Barack Obama or Joe Biden or Kamala Harris was saying any of this stuff, you people's heads would be exploding on the other side, okay? So when we talk about double standards, we're talking about stuff like that, all right? So I guess in closing, what I would say is if you're within the sound of my voice and for some strange reason you're still undecided, or you just feel like I don't want to go vote and you're in a swing state, please go vote. I mean, it's your voice. Don't let them take it from you. The other side tries. They try to suppress the vote all the time, especially in, disproportionately, Black, Latino, and minority communities. I mean, that's been proven time and time again. There's constantly court battles about it. Again, I'm not going to pretend that doesn't happen, because it does. All right, we're going to say those parts on this show. We're going to say the truth here. So go out and vote. I think the choice is clear for me. Like Kamala Harris says, let's turn the page. It's time to turn the page on the ignorance and the white supremacy and the hatred. You know what I would like to have? A normal Republican Party again. I would like to go back to like debating the likes of guys like Mitt Romney and John McCain. Honorable men who I disagree with. Guys that I don't think are evil human beings. They're just guys that I don't agree with stuff on. And I would like to have good, healthy debate again, and not this cesspool that Trump has turned this into over the last 10 years, that it just became okay to call. I mean, he's called Kamala Harris like, a bum and stupid and low IQ, and talked about her race and talked about her supposedly, being some kind of, prostitute, and like him and all of his surrogates have said all this stuff. And it's just unbelievable that like this is where we are. You know, if you look at some old footage of Barack Obama and Mitt Romney in the debates, and John McCain in the debates, and even going back to George W. Bush and John Kerry, and yeah, there was a few barbs thrown back and forth, but they at least tried to like be respectful of each other. And Trump has just evolved this into like just crap the last 10 years. And I think we are all just so exhausted, you know. And then, you know, the media does this whole both sidesism of, you know, oh, it's just too negative on both sides. No, one side is way more negative. It's okay to say that. One side is acting way more ignorant in the things that they're saying, and racist and whatnot. Okay? So again, tomorrow's election day. Go vote. Whatever side you're on, go vote. Okay? It's one of our most fundamental freedoms, and everybody should do it, and everybody should exercise their right. I'm going to be signing off now. I encourage everybody to please go to the page, and we're going to turn the page because I want to start talking wrestling this week, okay? Monday Night Raw is on, like I said, as we're recording. Go to the page, leave some comments. I may use your comments in an episode, like I said in the premiere episode. But I want to hear from people. So we've got WWE this week, we've got AEW, and we're going to be talking about all kind of stuff, and we're going to have a lot of fun in the coming weeks. So this episode here, yes, a lot about politics, the election's tomorrow, but like I said, we're going to hopefully turn the page, and I don't know if we're going to know who the president is by tomorrow night. I'm thinking probably not because it's so tight. But as soon as we do know, I'm not saying we're going to stop talking politics, but it's not all we're going to talk here. And if you go to the YouTube page, the great thing is, it's like a buffet. You'll be able to select what you want. You're not in the mood for politics. I'm not some days. Some days I want to go listen to a wrestling podcast. Well, you can select you can select the episodes about wrestling. I'm going to divide up the episodes best I can so that people can, choose how they want. By the way, I'm going to start having guests too. So if you're sick of just hearing me, this isn't how the show is always going to be. It's just for the first couple episodes. I wanted to get some stuff out by the election, so it's just the way that time permitted it. But we are going to start having guests as well. So stay tuned for that. Follow us on Facebook. We're on Jason Talks About. Look us up on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, Jason Talks About. You'll find me. Look for the logo. But the vehicle for the show will be YouTube for the most part. So that's where you're going to want to go. Please like, share, subscribe. Thank you for your support, everyone. And we'll catch you next time.